here we go. All right.
Good evening. Welcome to LoveLogical, DNA Not Required. This is Michelle L. Anderson, coming to you live from Podcast Detroit, Royal Oak Studios. We are looking forward to intriguing and entertaining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Let me start today's show by saying thank you for joining our family, which is biological by nature, LoveLogical by choice, DNA Not Required. Good evening, everyone. This is Michelle Anderson and my co-host, Delon.
Hello, world.
I would like to say thank you to everyone last week who was concerned about us. We were sick last week, and I think that a lot of people were having a lot of illness because of the weather. So thank you so much for caring about us and checking on us, and I truly appreciate you. I'm here tonight with a wonderful organization. If you don't know about them, you should know about them. I am here tonight with Wake Up. So I'm going to let everyone from Wake Up introduce themselves.
Hi, this is Ayana Walters. I'm one of the founders of Wake Up, and I'm going to tell you what Wake Up means. Wake Up is warriors achieving knowledge, education, understanding pathways, purpose. We started Wake Up about almost 10 years now, and I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves, but now I'll go back to the history, but you can go with the next person.
My name is Desiree Jennings. I am another, I guess, I don't want to say founder, because I give that all up to Ayana, but I am a member of the Wake Up Board. So, and I also do HIV counseling and testing as my career.
All right.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Pastel Franklin. I am also a Wake Up member, and I currently run an HIV program at Sinai Grace Professional Building, and I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming out. So Ayana's going to explain a little more, but Wake Up became special to me. I'm actually on the board of Wake Up. So it was very important for me to get, us here, because Wake Up is actually educating and counseling and testing our youth. Well, they're adults as well, but they focus on our youth, because our youth really, truly needs to have an understanding of what's happening within metropolitan Detroit when it comes to STDs and HIV. So here's Ayana. Ayana, you want to give everybody that Wake Up experience. Let them know what it is that you've created, that you founded.
Well, as I said, Wake Up, let's give a little history of how Wake Up started. I'm a research nurse at Wayne State University, and also the Connect to Protect coordinator at Wayne State University. And started at Wayne State in 2008. And doing the research, I see the numbers. Mm-hmm. I see how prevention and the rates are going within the city of Detroit. So me and myself and a couple other coworkers decided to create Wake Up and bring the prevention in a different way, not just upstairs saying, okay, don't do this, don't have sex. We're all humans. We're all going to have sex. Just keep it real. Mm-hmm. And we need to learn to protect ourselves. And we, with Wake Up, we try to present the prevention in a different way, through monologues, through poetry, spoken word, through performance, just bringing it in a whole different way. And also bringing HIV prevention and bringing other life issues that our youth go through, like driving responsibilities when it comes making sure your license is up to date, college prep skills, trade skills. A lot of college is not for everyone. So we just try to bring all those components into one and just tell everyone we need to wake up and let's talk as a community about what's going on that's affecting the community.
And I love the fact that one of the things is we have parents that are involved there with their children. You know, we talk to the parents separately, we talk to the kids, and I think that the program itself should be statewide. I really do. I see us growing outside of just the metropolitan area because there's so much to offer. And for those of you wondering, LoveLogical parents, families, this is information that you need to know so that you can make sure that your teens and your tweens know. Because you may feel as if, oh, they're getting that at school, but if they're not getting it the right way, then they're going to get it the wrong way from their friends. And school is only going to go so far. So I was introduced to Wake Up. Janelle was 14.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Teen Summit.
Yeah, Janelle was 14, and I had met, I met God's Got Your Back
GGYB.
at my LoveLogical Daughters Conference. And she was telling me about, Wake Up, and I was like, okay. So I took Janelle, and I was impressed because Mahogany Jones was there. Mm-hmm. And this is parents and kids and everyone together, the monologues and the STI Jeopardy. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The children the teens actually played STI Jeopardy, and it was very impressive with what they knew, but it was also shocking with some of the things that they didn't know.
Yeah.
But they learned.
Mm-hmm.
And having a police officer, it was an attorney who was there talking to the kids about what to do if they're pulled over by the police.
Yeah, Attorney Longstreet.
And, then having, the doctors there to keep it real about what's going on. And I also have to admit that Wake Up was the first time I had ever seen a female condom, which I actually showed you guys on my Facebook Live. Because I was like, oh, wow, look. So this is truly an adult conversation, but for your teens as well. But anybody under the age of probably 12, I would think that they may not be part of the conversation tonight. So I want to put that out there. If you're very hesitant about your children learning the truth, then you may want to have 12 and older listen in tonight. And this is actually going to be recorded as well, so that you can keep this around, because you're going to want your kids to hear what's happening here within metropolitan Detroit. And Desi keeps it real. So we're gonna have to Desi, look, I'm reeling you in a little bit tonight. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the monologues.
Well, the monologues are fictional stories, because when we first did them, actually I had Desiree and my son Edward to do some of them, and it was funny afterwards. People were coming to them like, "Are you okay?" We got to always explain that these are stories that I have written, and one of them is based on perinatal experience with a young man contracting HIV. He was born with HIV, so it's perinatally infected, and we really don't talk about that. We always talk about behavioral, meaning having sex, contracting HIV. So that was a monologue that I wrote just regarding his experience of being born, growing up, being an adult, living with HIV, and the stigma that still in 2019 we have the stigma of HIV. Another one.
Said, "Oh wow."
Yeah.
It's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah. The stigma is, and with the monologues too, is just keeping it real and taking away the stigma. This is a disease. It's treatable, but it's different aspects of the disease. And another monologue I wrote was regarding young man that was sexually abused. and MSM, and he contracted HIV. So it's different monologues. So some of the monologues will be done this Friday. We're having a self-love event. Actually, February 7th is National HIV, a Black HIV Testing Day. So if you haven't been tested, please get tested. So that's a national observance for Black HIV Testing Day, February 7th, which is this Thursday.
Where can they go and get tested on Thursday?
Here in the city, they can go to Unified.
They can go to Community Health Awareness Group and get tested by me, as
Where's
long as I
that?
don't know you.
Where's that?
That is on 1300 West Fort Street, so it is across the street from WC3's downtown campus. That's
Okay.
usually how I tell people. We're kind of low-key looking. We have some red dots on our door, so we're on the corner of Brooklyn and Fort.
Okay.
Another location is What's Up. They're on 50 West Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Detroit Health Department, which is on
50 East
Canfield.
Canfield. Yeah, so
Everything's
it's 50
50-50.
East.
Yeah,
I
50
see.
West Hancock is the West What's Up, and the Detroit Health Department.
And Evelyn, where can they go to find you?
Oh, I'm at Sinai Grace Professional Building, Suite 207.
Okay.
Yes.
And they can come there and get tested as well?
Yes.
Okay.
They can also, they're doing testing at all the sites. Are they still doing testing at Toland Park as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
Toland Park.
So Toland Park Medical, Building 3901, Chrysler Drive, 4th floor.
Okay.
Unified HIV Health and Beyond is in the Fisher Building.
And Horizons. I cannot forget
Right,
Horizons.
Okay.
Horizons.
4201
one.
St. Antoine.
Look, they just got these addresses off the top of their heads.
Yeah.
Don't nobody have any paper in front
Right.
of them.
Well, see,
so that
I'm a
tells you they know
20-year
what they
veteran.
do.
I'm
Okay.
20 years in the field. So,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Been around a minute.
All right.
And it's a close kind of relationship with a lot of, everyone works at different agencies, and we all have our different things we have to get done. But at the end of the day, we do usually come together. Everyone knows each other in this industry. We go to conferences together. So even if you work at a different agency, you probably have interacted with somebody at another one.
And because many of us work under Ryan White, we have a service territory that's within our jurisdiction. So we service 6 counties: Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, St. Clair, Lapeer, and Monroe.
Okay.
Counties
Okay.
is our service territory. But as you know, Detroit is unfortunately the epicenter of the HIV epidemic for the state of Michigan.
And can you say that again?
So Detroit is the epicenter for the HIV epidemic within the state of Michigan.
What makes Detroit the epicenter of the epidemic?
Well, a little over 70% of all HIV diagnoses are within our region, which is that 6-county area. And within that 6-county area, Detroit represents 60% of all diagnoses.
Wayne County?
Yeah, Wayne County. I actually have statistics here. I pulled all of that.
Yeah.
up.
Let's hear some
Yes, let's hear
statistics.
some
I wanna
statistics.
hear
Hold on.
that.
Let me get my clinician some stuff over there. Ayana, darling. Because I think it's really important, and I'm not sure if we're live now. Here.
We are.
Yeah.
So I requested not to be on camera. Hopefully, no one can see me.
Oh.
But it's really powerful. We
How are you
have
gonna request not to be on camera?
Right.
Look at the diva over there.
I am
She's
not
Exactly.
She's very beautiful.
She
guys.
is
Amazing. Those
beautiful.
amazing dreads.
but I'm very, very low key and shy. But I think it's really important that you get a visual representation. I just want to make sure that is seen. This here,
That
Yeah.
there.
yeah,
Just
and you
hold
can
up
flip
in
it
front
back
of you.
over.
Wait a minute, bring it over some. Between, like, right there.
So what you're looking at is a representation of what persons look like who are diagnosed with HIV within our community. And as you can see, the vast majority of the people diagnosed are people of color.
Yeah.
So as we sit around this table, it becomes very personal to us. These are our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, our children's, like the people that we live next door to every day.
Oh, wow.
And what really makes it of great concern is that the majority of the people who are diagnosed are represented by African American males,
Yeah.
right? And although, once upon a time it was considered to be a gay man's disease, it is very far from that. It is a social disease that you get because you love or you live out
Yes.
loud
Yes.
and like it's your, like it's your life. but it's disproportionately affecting our community, and it's not something that we talk about because it has sex tied to it. And that's when we need people like Desi who can have those very, very, very frank conversations about sex and sexuality and how to make sure we have sex positive conversations so that as people do go out and explore and find themselves, that they can do it safely. But
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the main things I think is a principle at Wake Up is that we understand that sex positivity is a thing that we ascribe to. You know, people have sex, like my mom said before. People have sex, you know, and people enjoy sex. So we don't want to be the sex education that wags the finger at people like, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. It's, okay, you like to do this. This is how you can do it safely.
Make sure you protect yourself at all times.
Yeah, just like, okay, giving you some tips and some things, because one of the main principles in this industry is meeting people where they are. So they could be all the way in the back, not even wanting to use condoms, not wanting to even do the basics. And we have to meet them there, and we have to get them to a different place. So if you are already in a different place from a person, you're not going to be able to communicate to them the principles that you want to come across. So that's why we are really dedicated to just being sex positive and understanding that sex doesn't have to be bad. Bad things can come with it if you're irresponsible.
Yeah, I can understand that. Mom actually showed me a dental dam for the first time. Like, I'm sitting there, I think I was just watching TV with my sister, and she says, "Oh, I found a dental dam. Here you go." And I'm like, hey, full force. Like, what? I don't want that. Like, I don't need that. She's like, "Oh, you need that."
A lot of people have never even seen a dental dam before.
No.
Yeah, a lot of people have never even seen one.
And, I'm really surprised at, the fact that these aren't things that are discussed publicly. The main thing that's discussed publicly is condoms.
Yeah.
Anything outside of condoms, it's really not being truly discussed publicly.
A lot of parents don't even have that talk with their kids anymore. Like, it's like just talking to people and meeting people. A lot of parents don't have that conversation with their children.
They don't.
Like it's like they're afraid to. It's like the stigma. So your kid ends up finding out themselves, and then they want to experiment because of what they're finding out from their friends.
Yeah.
And not hate to cut you off, not only with that, with social media, phones.
Yeah.
That's with, I know everyone loves social media. I always say computer may be our downfall, but you can just go right on the computer and just it's there,
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. So that's another thing. Like we want to give the proper information, to the youth, and we do teach abstinence. You got to be ready.
Yes.
You got to be mature and ready. Just don't. We're not saying go out there and have sex. No, abstinence first. Then, if you decide, learn how to protect yourself.
But having the right information at a younger age, a lot of times will lead to the child waiting.
Yeah.
Because they have the right information and they understand the necessity for waiting because they know what can happen if they don't wait.
Yeah. They understand that it's like I always say, for me, teenager, if you're under the age of consent, you're still a child in my eyes. So sex is an adult thing. You wouldn't give a kid a car note and just say, go crazy with this car, do whatever you want, because that's an adult responsibility.
Right.
There are responsibilities that come with this because of what can happen. You could have a child. We talk about pregnancy, and we talk about how, that can change a person's life, a young person's life, send you on a different course. It's not going to end it, but at the same time, it's going to make things a lot harder. So just understanding that sex is fun. Sex is something a lot of people love to do. But it is also something that comes with a lot of responsibility because there are outcomes that can stick with you for life in more ways than one.
That's amazing because I want to share one of my best memories of Wake Up. We were downtown in Wayne State's campus, and I came down with Janelle, and it was a round table of women of all ages. I think the youngest was 13, who had the mindset of a 20-year-old. But I think the oldest person there was in their 70s.
Yeah.
I think every single generation from teen to 70 was represented at that table. And the conversations, it was young school, educating old school educating our youngsters. It was a phenomenal conversation. And at the time, Janelle was 15 and had a 19-year-old trying to talk to her and telling her that he just wanted to be her friend. And it was just, Mama, I was a mama, I just had to sit back because Desi and the other college girls that were there just had open conversation with her, open dialogue about what a 19-year-old is looking for from a 15-year-old, and it's not friendship.
Yeah.
And they broke it down as to there's something wrong with his mindset, how he's trying to run game, how he's trying to be your friend to be able to get into your underwear. You know, he wants to, you know, the fact that you're a virgin, it becomes, you know, something that almost like a predator going after prey. But the thing is, coming from someone in college and younger, she was like, wow. And I haven't had any conversation. She's 17 now. And if someone too old try to talk to Janelle, what she do, Delon?
Oh, she swerves them. No. She's like, how old are you? Excuse me? She be cracking me up telling me those stories.
I think one of the good things, that event was actually called Who Am I Without Them?
Yes.
So it was based on a book that the other girl who was with me, her name is Taylor. She's also on the board of Wake Up. She had when she was a teenager. It's called Who Am I Without Him? So we changed it to them to make it more inclusive. And we invited a bunch of young ladies there to just talk about who they are outside of their romantic attachments. Like, who are you outside of your relationship? Or, you know, we had some moms in there. And at the end, I asked, I was like, who are you? And some of them were like, I'm a mother. It's like, no. Outside of all of those titles you give yourself of things you do as service to others, who are you? And it took some people some time to answer that question. But one of the things I did love about that event was us getting a chance to connect with everyone. And I think sometimes people think of keeping it real as like this corny, like somebody trying to come down to your level and using like language they shouldn't be using and different stuff. But for me, and I think for us, because the women who are older than me on Wake Up was also my school teacher, one telling me, you know, my mom's one was telling me the game growing up. It's like keeping it real is actually just being honest, like just being transparent and saying all of the aspects of a situation, whether they're good or bad, seeing them and being able to communicate that to a person without changing your language or making yourself seem like, oh, I want to be young and hip. Like, no, just be yourself and be honest. I think a lot of parent and children relationships could benefit from just transparency. You know, just like not the do as I say, not as I do, but just like, let me tell you what this really is and let me give you some real game. I think I remember my mom, I asked her, I was like,
you know I gave you game.
I couldn't see myself doing it though. Like to my daughter, like keeping it real. No, honey, that's nothing. Don't worry about that.
But she's only 5 now.
I know.
By the time she gets to be your sister's age,
you might want to have those conversations. Just keep being honest about like you as a man. What do you look for in a woman? And if you're trying to play somebody or just get something quick from a person, what are the things that you do?
See,
those kind of conversations are useful.
I'm gonna bring her to Wake Up. That's what I'm gonna do.
bringer.
But it helps. Like I think I asked my mom at a really young age. I was like, well, what is sex? And she was very honest with me. She didn't just give me the birds and the bees. And as a result, I did wait until I was an older age to have sex. But that's because when I was in school and people were like, oh, this is this and this is great, I would be like, no, it's not. Because I knew what it really was.
Yeah.
So and that came from somebody I trusted and knew it was my mom. I was really shy, so I didn't talk to her about boys. But all that stuff did stick to me. Just because I was shy doesn't mean I wasn't listening.
And and now you have the internet. When I was coming up, it was very unusual for a mother to be so blunt with with their children. My mother was so blunt with me, it was ridiculous. And I sit back now and I think about the fact that the conversations I had with my mother at 12 years old.
Me too.
And
okay.
yeah, I did have blunt conversations with you, but it was because of my mother. And back in the day, Planned Parenthood used to have a peer-to-peer program. It was like teen counselors.
Oh, they still do.
I didn't. Yeah. My mother made me go, so that actually it made a difference.
Yeah.
Visuals really make a huge difference.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
She had me. It felt like it was. I don't remember where we were at, but she took me to this class, and they literally
Planned Parenthood.
They were putting everything on the board in front of me, and I'm like. Oh, and I'm just a little boy, so it was like the fear of God was putting me instantly like, oh, that can happen to me? Taking me and all my friends, like Brandon, my LoveLogical brother, like it was absolutely just horrifying. And I remember like, no. Like, I think that's why we played with our toys for so long, we can wait to get to that.
I think, too, like, we focus on the youth with Wake Up, but for my job at Community Health Awareness Group, we go to treatment centers and do health education there as well. So a lot of those people are, I would say, average, like 35 plus. We have a lot of senior citizens that are there in the treatment centers, and you'll be surprised how many adults, grown people, do not know what HIV is. They still think that you can get it from spits, from sweat. So, like, HIV 101 is something that a lot of people really, really just need, because there are so many of us walking around here like, I'm grown. I know everything there is to know about life. I'm done learning. I don't need to learn anything else. Meanwhile, you still thinking of STIs as VD. And the last place you went to get tested was like Herman Kiefer. That doesn't even exist anymore. So
Evelyn has something to share with us.
Yeah, but do you even have an opportunity now to, guess whether or not, or, think about whether or not you want to have those kind of conversations with your children when you look at the kind of media they have access to?
That is true.
Beyond just what they can find on the internet. When you look at these reality television shows and the things that happen on those shows, and if you listen to music, like, they tell you how to do it.
That is true.
They're telling you what to do, how to get down, what to take to make it easier to go at it. So it's like really important now. It's a critical time in our society that we as older, more seasoned adults become a little more comfortable with ourselves, because the children are already comfortable with it. It is us as the adults who take pause in having those conversations, because we don't want to go too far without recognizing that the children have already been exposed to a lot of the things that we don't want to have a conversation about. I had a wake-up call. My son was 7 years old, and I was taking him to spend the night over to his cousin's house. And one of our cousins, his sister is a 16-year-old, right? But apparently the children had been listening to the 16-year-old have conversations, as children will do. And my son says, well, Mom, before you take me home so that I can give my dad a kiss and a hug. I says, okay, well, why do you want to do that? He says, well, because he is half the reason I'm here, right? I was like, absolutely. He was like, and I bet you didn't know that you could put something over your pee-pee so that you won't make a baby. And I turned, I said, excuse me? He says, your penis, you can cover it up with something so that you don't have a baby.
And how old was he?
He was 7. And but I had to pull the car over because where I was taking it back, and I shouldn't be surprised because I drag him everywhere the same way Desi had to come everywhere. He did also. But I didn't recognize how much he had actually absorbed and that he was processing those things. So it's not a matter of if we should have the conversations, but how do we make sure we have the conversations that are true and honest and pure, not in thought or process, but pure to what our children need, not what we want.
How do you know, like say with a 7-year-old, how do you know
don't.
how much to share with them?
You know, it's a Q&A kind of thing. You know, there's an intervention that they're doing at the health department about how parents can have conversations with their children because it is very, very, very tricky. And children mature at different levels and are exposed to different things. For instance, you can leave your kid with the babysitter, and the babysitter is simply watching videos, something that back in our day was very, very, very innocent. MTV Raps, you know, we just kind of watched videos. But they're singing the words. The dances now are a little more explicit. You know, and we don't know what kind of conversations babysitters are having. We don't know what kind of conversations their peers in school are having.
At the lunch table.
We work next to it's a middle school.
Spain.
I wasn't going to call the school
I'm
name.
sorry.
Scratch that.
I'm sorry.
But listen, we're on the 4th floor, and on two occasions, we've looked out the window to see 2 students engaged in actual sex, penetrating sex.
Did you make a phone call?
We made a phone call. We also went out and chased down children because that's what we do. It's a bunch of old, you know, souls in that particular
old soul.
No,
No,
really. You
I
know,
know what
we
you're
believe
saying.
in stepping
I do.
in, and
I do. Back
we're
in the
part.
day.
We're part of the village.
We're part of the
and
village.
Until you tell me your child is not a part of the village, I'm coming for your kid.
And I say the community too. I say, you know,
Exactly.
it takes a community.
It does.
Because some people say they get tired of hearing the village. So if you're tired of hearing the village, then now you're going to hear the community.
Okay. But we have to think and react globally. And with that being said, there were children having sex somewhere where they didn't need to be. It was public, number 1. Number 2, there was no protection involved. Number 3, Spain is an elementary school.
A middle school
it
or
middle?
elementary?
It's elementary, middle. It's from
both.
It's both.
So you have those children mixing.
That's
You
being
have-
exposed.
No,
to
but
the
think
youngers
about
being
it.
exposed.
But you have
as well.
the younger children being exposed to the older children in playground activities, lunchroom activities, just walking through the hallway, and you can separate them as best you can. The fact is that they're going to hear, they're going to see, because children are sponges. So with that, we as adults have to say we're okay with the fact that they know these things and that these are the things that they're being exposed to. We as adults who are not into mumble rap or whatever it is that they're listening to or the programs that they're watching, we need to pay attention and watch so that we can understand the lingo and the language that they're using, because it varies. It differs from what we say and how we speak. So
I was gonna say, I also I'm glad that Evelyn brought up the actual class that the health department is giving, because just rounding back to my earlier point, yeah, these conversations need to be had, but we also need to be open to receiving education ourselves as adults.
Yes.
A lot of people think that they know all there is to know about sex by the time they reach a certain age. So that's why a lot of these conversations I've had with adults about stuff that I've learned just by working at my job is very resistant to. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for such and such and such and such years. And it's, if you don't have that education to properly teach a child, you're not going to give them the proper education. You're passing on misinformation, which I see happening a lot when people are actually willing to have those conversations but teach their kids something that is not right or something that could end up, harming them.
Desi, I've always pride myself on being knowledgeable and knowing what's happening out there. And when I came to Wake Up with Janelle for the first time, I realized that things have changed.
Yeah.
It's not the same anymore. I know that teens aren't the same anymore. But even when we called STDs are now STIs, You know, you said that, you know, people back in the day, they would go to the health department or whatever, they get a shot. It's not like that anymore. And I do want to reiterate to those who are listening tonight, wake up. We do talk to the kids about abstinence, but we're also giving the children enough knowledge to where if they choose something other than, they know what's right.
Yeah.
They
And
know what's right.
And the thing is that even if it's not something that they can use, when we did the Teen Summit at MSU, and remember I brought all my little football babies with me because I was a teen mom. So whatever player parent would allow them to come, they came. And I actually got a call back from one of the boys. He was in the room with a bunch of other little young men, people. And he was trying to give them the information that he had learned. So he called me to kind of back him up. So even when we think they're not listening, they are listening. And even if the information doesn't pertain to them, maybe it pertains to a friend. The young lady, Sydney, who you said had the soul of a 20-year-old, you know, her mother is very frank and candid in how she speaks to Sydney and describes processes with her when she has questions. And then Sydney has a group of friends that, like, she goes back and she straightens them out because maybe they've gone a little further than she has. So it's important that we kind of listen and hear what they're saying first. And then respond honestly without shaming them, because that's another thing that happens frequently is that we shame or punish them.
Or get upset to where we turn off the communication because there's no listening. So I'm glad that I have a relationship with my kids to where they can feel comfortable to come and talk to me about things like that. Janelle comes and talks to me.
Says who?
What?
No, I was playing.
Too late now.
Look, you still talking. You 32. You still talk.
Only on the weekends.
But it's good. We have to parent our children and not be buddies at a certain point. You still have to.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
have to talk
Balance
to,
in all things.
There's a balance,
Absolutely.
but it can get to a point where I see where so many parents are befriending their kids to where they're almost afraid to say anything that's going to upset the child.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with having an open conversation. Like I said, my mother wanted me to learn how to not be played. And I was talking to someone the other day, and we're the same age, and both of our mothers did the same thing. And I thought my mother was crazy, but now I appreciate it. My mother had me reading Iceberg Slim and Donald Goines books at 13. But the purpose of her having me read those books at 13 was because she didn't want anyone to be able to get into my head and take me in a wrong direction. She wanted me to know what the game was, and she wasn't sure how to explain it to me.
And I also think, too, like understanding that those open conversations need to happen whether your child is male or female, whatever your child may be. We often kind of perpetuate negative stereotypes within the Black community, especially with young Black men as far as hypersexuality goes. You know, encouraging someone who is extremely young to have sex because they're supposed to be a man. We often make young Black boys grow up into men very quickly. They don't even have the chance to be children. And as a result, we see older men going out and having a whole bunch of sexual relationships just because they think they have to prove their masculinity. I think that, you know, we just really need to make sure that we let our young African American men or boys be boys to a point. So many young men that I know have told me that they have lost their virginity at 9, 10, 11, and they think it's okay. They don't think of it as rape. They think of it as, oh, I wanted to do it, and I can make that decision. If you are under the age of consent, in my eyes, you are not apt to make that decision. So
when you say 9, 10, and 11, you're talking about like the babysitter and
I
you
don't.
know.
Other kids, I've heard somebody say they did it with another little girl, maybe a girl who was a little bit older than her, or grown women having sex with children.
It's because you're pushed to. Like
To be that.
That's what you're pushed to be, like that's what it is to have a man. To be a man means that you do manly things, and sex is one of those things that comes up often, especially when you're like hanging with the boys. You have like if you ever seen the movie The Wood, you start the tip jar, like who's gonna get it first, and like even me and my friends did that when we were kids, and it's like just that's what you're pushed to do. That's who you're pushed to be. You see this girl as soon as you learn what booties can do, like yeah. And that's where your focus is as kids. You're sitting in class and you're like hitting your boy like, hey man, look, and it's like from there it just continues to like perpetuate itself, like.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that speaks to the disproportionate effect HIV and AIDS has on young men of color. In particular, the heaviest burden is on males ages 20 to 29 years of age when it comes to being newly diagnosed with HIV in the city of Detroit. And when you teach these young men that next to that would be 15 to 19-year-olds, right? That high school experience.
Mm-hmm. So you go from 20 to 29 is number one with African American males.
Yeah.
In the
and
city
15
of Detroit.
in the city of Detroit,
and
and
then
15 to 19, number two.
Yes.
What's number three? Do you have that?
Yes, 30-year-old men, when they start slowing down a little bit. They got to go to work and pay for babies they've made. That little deterrent called parenting. Yeah, child support will make you do a lot of things differently.
Ain't that the truth?
I'm just kidding. Strike that from the record.
Learn something.
Right. So, we have to think about the effects of being pushed into doing things that seem masculine on these young boys, because first of all, they're boys. Let children be children, right? And if they want to know something, it's okay for them to know and not act it out. But oftentimes what happens, as Desi was saying, is that once you figure out they've put one and two together, that it's supposed to be stuck into something, then you have these older men or young men, as well as your peers who've been influenced by other older men, to get as much as you can, as fast as you can. How many notches can you get on your belt?
Majority, going to that, majority of the HIV cases of the young men, reviewing their charts, have been molested.
Really?
Yeah. At least 85% have been molested. And that's another thing we don't talk about in the community. It happens, and it just slides it underneath the rug, just keep it going,
Some all-out rape. We use pretty flowery words if we want.
Yes.
Some molestations, and then there are some rapes. And, because that's taboo to happen to a man.
Yeah, that's something you don't hear about. You're not
But
supposed to know.
But
It happens.
I
It
know it
happens.
does.
Like
It
I said,
happens.
at least eight, maybe I'm even going less, but majority, every time I'm reviewing, it's just majority.
I understand, but
this-
man, it's not considered rape.
One of the things that is scary to me is that we kind of in the black community, and I guess black men especially, kind of don't want to be victims to the point where they will internalize trauma and reverse it to be something to be glorified.
Yeah.
Black people love to glorify trauma. We love to glorify negative things that happen to us because it's a coping mechanism. Going back in history, we've been the most tortured, hurt people. So, of course, we're going to turn that hurt into something positive to be able to keep moving on and keep going. And we have done that in beautiful, amazing ways. But one of the most negative ways I've seen it as is reversing trauma into something to be proud of. If you are 9 years old and a grown woman has sexual intercourse with you, beloved, that is rape. That is nothing but rape.
But, the thing is, like you said, the community doesn't look at it that way. Do you all have actual numbers instead of like a percentage? How many cases of HIV is known within Wayne County at this time? Do you have the number?
Yeah, I did print some things out just because I wanted to be prepared with
Thank
some
you.
data. You're welcome.
Would you guys say it's like a type of PTSD almost?
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know.
Evelyn.
Evelyn's going to give us a number. We have about 10 minutes, so I want to make sure that we have the numbers out here.
Okay.
And I want to
And why
say,
she's. I'm
oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry, those of you who listened to the show a few weeks ago, we had Brandon Michael Higgins on the show, and he actually talked about being molested as a child, and to have a man step up and be open about that in today's world, I say that that's a real man. That's somebody, and he is helping other young adults.
To come out.
He's a psychologist. Brandon he's a heterosexual male, but he is so well spoken.
Yes.
His nonprofit, A Chance for Joshua. He's championing his brother, who had some fallacies within the fostering system that actually changed his brother's mindset to the point to a negative, just a negative mindset. And Brandon had the opportunity to have a totally different upbringing in life with his adopted parents than what his brother had. And just to hear his story, I would actually encourage you to go back and listen to that broadcast.
Yes.
And I actually would like to have him come here and to a wake up, to one of our wake up events, because he's definitely woke.
Yes.
And we need men like him to talk to our
talk
young
about
men.
Look,
Yeah.
shout out to Terry Crews, and you
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
happened to him just for coming out and saying what happened to him. He has, he just recently called D.L. Hughley to the carpet, because you're going to, and D.L. Hughley did an interview before where he talked about how his daughter was sexually assaulted, but because he liked the person who did it to her, who she said did it to her, he didn't do anything about it. So you are going on radio and you are saying that this man is wrong for bringing up charges on this other man for assaulting him. He should have punched him in the face. Well, if you didn't even do the same for your own child, how are you going to talk about a man who has a career, who is doing well for himself? He can't just haul off and punch every person. And violence shouldn't be the first thing we think about as Black people as a solution to our problems.
I think that men should be able to come forward, as well as the way that women are encouraged to come forward. I think we need to encourage our men to come forward. Me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there are a lot of men. There are a lot of men out here who have been molested and who have been raped, who may want to talk about it, but because of the stereotypes within our community, they're afraid to come forward. Evelyn, you have those numbers ready, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So the prevalence for the city of Detroit, and this is as of December 2017, because you have
Yes.
a 2-year data lag when you're dealing with epi data, because you have to make sure the data is clean and all of that other good stuff. But there are this is for the city of Detroit only. This is Detroit proper. 5,570 people. Of those 5,570, 4,930 are Black,
Wow.
right?
That's 90%.
Of that population.
88% of the total.
88,
88
Yeah.
of the total population. 4% are Hispanic. 5% are white. Of those diagnosed, 74% of them are male. Right, with the
Wow.
overwhelming burden being on Black males. 65% of those males are Black, and the remaining 3% Hispanic, 4% white, and then you have a 2% other category. In regards to females, you have 1,350. Of that 1,350, 1,220 are Black. Right.
And these are diagnosed.
These are diagnosed.
Not
This
people
is
who
not-
don't know.
These are
But
people.
would that diagnosis also include those that went to private physicians to get tested?
If they have gotten tested and have a positive result, we have you have to report it to the state for their record. So the state keeps record of every new diagnosis.
Okay, so someone can't say that this is just people that went to the health department or whatever. This is actually all private physicians as well as public.
This is anything that went through a laboratory to be processed.
Okay.
Yes.
So
All right.
that's that. Put a
The
bow on it.
CDC doesn't
Do you
play.
have Oakland County there as well?
I can pull Oakland County. That won't be. As
Yeah, we
quick.
got a few minutes, so I'd like to hear Oakland County as well.
And while she's
So can I tell, because this information is accessible to anyone who is interested.
Yes, let them know where it is.
So you can go to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, mdhhs.gov, and type in statistics in the search engine, and everything that I'm telling you will come up.
Okay, what if someone lives in Indiana, Texas, or, Kentucky? Would they go on their local health department site?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All state health departments as well as local health departments are responsible for keeping up with any communicable disease that's happening within the community that they serve. In particular, there's a lot of data around HIV and AIDS because of the Healthy People 2020 initiative, because Obama, God bless his heart.
President Obama.
President, yes.
Yes.
The National HIV/AIDS strategy, the first time ever that there was one. So you will find that there are a lot more statistics and reports and data sets available around HIV and AIDS. And I just want to say that just because we have the highest prevalence rate doesn't mean that we can't turn this around or slow it down.
Yes.
There is a thing called PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and that is a medication that you're able to take on a daily basis. It is a maintenance medication that you're able to take so that if you're exposed to HIV, it is 99% effective.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, it's like 90, 94, like pretty much 94%, 95%.
That's
Right.
that's good.
And you find now that PrEP has primarily been marketed toward white individuals, gay white men,
Okay.
but not to people of color. In addition, there's prevention for positives, meaning that if you're already diagnosed, the one way you can reduce the likelihood or actually prevent, because we have U equals U campaign, undetectable means untransmittable. But if you're diagnosed, please, 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 please come into care. Get in contact with Michelle. My name is Evelyn Pastel Franklin. It is that on Facebook.
Yes.
You can inbox me and I will get you into care. You don't even have to come see me. I just need you into care. And the reason being is because if we are able to put you on medications and we're able to get your virus suppressed, like Magic Johnson, right? That's everybody's proxy.
Yes.
Then you will live a longer and healthy life. And then we also have additional support services. We have ongoing counseling. We have housing services. It's whatever you need so that we can get you on your feet.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love
So
it.
the Ryan White community is here for you.
Yes. Guys, I want you guys to understand that, the myth of HIV being a disease that's within the homosexual community, that is truly a myth. HIV is in every community.
like she said, it's social.
It's a social. Yes, it's a social disease, but it's every community, every color, every religion, every culture, everything that you could think of. The rates may be high within the African American community, but those of you who are not African American, that does not make you safe. It does not make you safe.
Yeah.
So please protect yourselves, and condoms are free. Desi, do you know the email or the website where people can get free condoms on a regular basis? They can sign up for them.
They can get it free in the mail through the city of Detroit. If you live in the city of Detroit in
Yes.
Highland Park, you can get it free. And I'm looking for it now. And as I'm looking, I just want to put out some announcements of what's going on this week. Friday, if you have youth 13 and up, please bring them out to Wayne State University Student Hall. We're having a free event, the Wake Up Self-Love. If you like spoken word, we have some excellent performers. Please come out from 6:30 to 9:30 at Student Hall. It's a free event this Friday, February the 8th. And also on February the 29th, we have a event called Painting with a Purpose. And we're going to be discussing HIV within the Black community, and also painting murals, the HIV symbol. So, and that's a free event, free food. So just come
What's
out.
the age range for painting with a purpose?
Painting with a Purpose, I believe it's 18 and up.
Okay, so we have 18 and up on February 29th with Painting with a Purpose, and we have the HIV event at
Self-love.
Self-love.
All
at-
ages.
at Wayne State, and that's 13 and up. If you want any additional information, just you can inbox me. You can inbox me. You can Facebook me. You can text me. Call me. I am available, as well as the information will always be up on my social media, so you'll be able to find that. We have to wrap up here. I will put that information out there since I know. Did you find it?
Yes, it's
okay.
I stay ready. I use condoms. www.detroitmi.gov/health, and you can get your free condoms in the mail.
Yes, I'll put that up on my website as well. Put it up on my social media so that you all will have that information. Ladies, thank you so much for coming out tonight and having
you.
this
Thank you
candid
for having us.
conversation. This means a lot to me. And wake up, Detroit. Wake up, Wayne County. Wake up, Oakland County. Wake up, United States.
Yes,
We
wake
need
up.
you to wake up. Go and get yourself tested. Free testing is available. I make sure I'm tested regularly. Delon, you got tested this summer when we were out at Palmer Park.
I'm gonna get
So-
tested this Thursday too.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Again, at
Friday.
you can come to Horizons,
Yeah.
Toland Park.
Yeah,
Community Health Awareness Group.
yes. So come on and wake up, everybody. And this is Michelle and
Delon Kennedy.
with LoveLogical, DNA not required. LoveLogical families, LoveLogical community. Talk to your kids, talk to your children, talk to your friends. Make sure that you know what's right, and please come out to Wake Up so that you can actually learn what we have to teach you. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Love y'all.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you.